This is the Mad Dragons Podcast. Well, g'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mad Dragons Podcast. And tonight we have a very special guest for the panel, and hopefully you all enjoy it too. Tonight we have a guest that played 141 games for the club. He's a premiership winning hero and the current NRLW coach and a dead set freaking legend. It's Jamie Soward. Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, good evening. It's nice to be able to do this stuff and probably have some hard questions coming up over the next little bit, but I'm looking forward to it. I think I enjoy this side, talking to fans, but also people that are passionate about the Dragons.
There's a lot of fanboying on the panel at the moment, mate, so I don't know whether anybody's got the heart to ask too many hard questions, but we'll see how we go. I've put together the agenda in somewhat chronological order, so hopefully we have time to get to the NRLW stuff, because I know that's important as well. But I'm just going to hand over to Big T. Why don't you kick us off for the first question, mate?
Yeah, well, welcome to the Mad Dragons Podcast, Jamie. It's great to have you on. You're one of my favourites. Well, I'd like to start at the beginning. You grew up in Wagga as a kid, and how did you get from Wagga to the Roosters?
Yeah, it's I was actually born in Canberra, so people sort of lugged me in with Wagga, but I'm from Canberra. When Mum and Dad split, I moved to Wagga with my stepdad, and pretty much the story goes that I wasn't being scouted or picked up like kids are today. It was back in the old, we're all old enough to remember VHSs. So I actually sent a video recording or VHS to a guy who knew the strapper for the Canberra Raiders, and also sent a resume, which was something unusual. But my stepdad said that if you listed out what you were good at, what you needed to work on, it was almost like you were going to an interview. So from there, I got through the cracks and drove to Canberra by myself. Played about 6 minutes in a trial and came off, and Matty Elliott was sort of there at Seaford Oval. And then, didn't think anything of it, didn't talk to anyone. And then the next day I got a call to go back and play for the Raiders in Jersey Flegg in a shortened season in 2003. It was 8 games. So, didn't really have much sample size, but they decided they wanted to move on with Todd Carney and Michael Dobson. And, at that time I was playing touch footy for my state. And, my coach was Sam Ayub, who was a footy manager. So he ended up getting me to the Roosters with Shane Flanagan on more like a training trial. Moved up to Sydney for 10 grand with my stepdad and was working at Foot Locker, but sort of a long way around to get into the Roosters, but that's how I got there.
No brown paper bags?
Not at that stage, no.
Thanks, man. Thanks very much.
That was an undefeated Jersey Flegg team. Is that the one at the Roosters?
Yeah, it was sort of, when I moved up, I didn't really know what to expect. Ricky Stewart had ball boyed for my dad down in Canberra, and Dad was a, Bo Scott-like, sort of tough, hard-ass, fight everyone, Jeremy Smith type of guy, the way that he played. And Sticky sort of said, if you're anything like your dad, you'll be all right. And I thought, holy shit, I'm nothing like my dad. So I thought I was in a bit of trouble. But, Flano, he could see the passion that I had for the game and the way that I was able to, flourish under him. And, I think we won 29 straight, including grand final day and extra time. So it's the last undefeated season, I think, since, in terms of, obviously not first grade, but Jersey Flegg since like 1950 or something like that. So it was a good year.
Fantastic. All right, I'll go to Mick. You've got a question about Sowie's goal kicking.
Yeah, mate. First of all, Jamie, is to make you welcome. Great to have you on, mate. And first, straight off the bat, thanks for the premiership, mate, because I'm the oldest Dragons panel member here, mate, and I don't know what I'm going to be saying another one. So thanks, mate, for the premiership, mate. Now, your goal kicking style, you obviously didn't just one day just start doing that as soon as you started kicking goals. So how, I presume you would have just started kicking goals as a normal kicker, and then one day you've come up with this style, which I've never seen anybody do before, and it's been incredibly successful for you. How did you actually one day come up with that, and where were you when you came up with it?
Yeah, I was. It's a good question. I wasn't a great goal kicker as a kid. Back when you kick off sand, I'm old enough to kick off sand. So my stepdad actually said to me in these exact words, if you're going to go to Sydney, boy, you better learn how to goal kick, because they'll take a halfback that can goal kick over one that can't. And I sort of worked at it. And obviously, I'd kicked in the lower grades at the Roosters, and just worked at my craft. But when I got to the Dragons, I actually went through like the yips a little bit. And I remember, not almost wanted to give it away, but I was sort of just confused as to what the next step was, because I was practicing. It wasn't like I wasn't practicing. I needed some help in that area. And Kurt Wrigley was the goal kicking / assistant coach at the time when I got the Dragons. And he actually got me in touch with Graham Arnold. And I went and did a session at Cogra with a soccer ball. And I'd kicked with Darryl Halligan and Craig Fitzgibbon and sort of at that young age. I mean, I was still, 23 or 24. I didn't really know what footy was like before Wayne came to the club. I was excited to play first grade, and I didn't really understand about prep and all that stuff. But I actually worked with Graham Arnold at a session at Cogra, and he just explained some stuff about, I was very hunched when the Johnny Wilkinson stage comes through, and just some body shape and stuff like that. And I actually started, I don't even know how the march came about, but I just sort of started to get myself ready and take a deep breath and compose myself, and then, running to the ball versus sort of walking into the ball. And when Wayne came to the club, I practiced really, really hard. And, I think in that 3 years, not being arrogant, but I think I had a lot of clutch kicks. I remember the first one, 2009, down in Melbourne, first round. He had to send us into Golden Point. The one in 2011 to send us to Golden Point, in the prelim. So I'd had a couple of big kicks in that era, and I thought it was down to Graham Arnold just explaining some stuff and me maturing to being able to understand it. So I don't know where the dance came from. I just sort of, I think once the Dragons fans liked it, I sort of played on a little bit, and it ended up becoming, but I didn't do it at Penrith. I changed it when I went to Penrith. I felt like, I needed to just leave that at the Dragons. So there you go, Graham Arnold.
And mate, just quickly, was the toe poking in the ground? Because I read it, so I might as well quickly ask you if it was true. When you did that little spin around in the toe poke in the ground, was that to get your toes close to the edge of the boot as possible? That's what I read.
Yeah. So I like to feel snug in my boots, but I guess my wife would happily tell you I'm OCD in a lot of stuff, and I've been putting my right sock, right shoe on for many a year. Probably 20 years, first. And, that was my routine. And I felt like, working with Graham and Chook and stuff like that routine was important and no too dissimilar to life. The more routine you get in, and the less margin for error, I guess. So that was part of it, making sure I could feel my toes. Because when you're playing out in Wagga, it was bloody freezing, right? So an old coach of mine, I had two great junior coaches, Harry Powers, who passed away, and Steve McDonald, who played country, for rugby league, and they just talked to me about routine and stuff. And when I got to Sydney, it was bright lights, and probably went away from that. So with my goal kicking, it was one thing that I could control every time, regardless of the weather. I could control the way I prepared to kick the ball. So, from putting Vicks on my feet when it was cold so I could feel my toes, to kicking my toe when I had to push my foot to the front of the boot. Not that there was much there, but it was just my routine. So I was pretty anal about that.
No, thanks, Jamie. Thanks, mate.
Jamie, what I want to say, the reason why you're actually my favourite player is because, to me, it showed your strength of character to be able to be, and actually I get emotional about this, because I could see how kids that are different are getting beaten up and bullied. And what I've found, that you're an inspiration to kids or people who are being put down for being different. And I thought it just showed your strength of character, which I thought to do something like that when You could have been bullying online. To me, you were my inspiration because of that. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jamie.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I think that's very nice and very kind words. I think as I've gotten older, like I was loose at one stage, like we all were, in terms of behaviour, and we've all done things, that we're probably not proud of, or that we wouldn't do it again. But as I've gotten older, I read somewhere that like in your 20s, you sort of care what people think, and then once you get to your 30s, you realise that you don't really care what people think, and then when you get to your 40s, you realise they probably weren't even thinking about you anyway.
Of course.
For me, I've really matured. Like I was, in different parts of my life. The Dragons' life was good. We were winning. But my life off field wasn't great. It was more get ready for that 80 minutes. And then when I went to Penrith, I struggled with that. So in terms of being my own character, I've always been a little bit different. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I love rugby league. I'm a savant. I love talking about the 84, 88, 92, kangaroo tours and 90s and all that stuff. But I've also got my privacy as well. And I feel like today you can say anything anywhere at any time without any consequence. And I'm teaching my young girls that, hey, we don't put up with that shit. We gotta keep punching, but also there's times where you just don't care. And I tell my girls that I coach right now is I've got enough friends. I don't need any more friends. I'm not here to be everyone's friend. And I think sometimes we often get caught up in thinking what people like or don't like about us instead of just living life, and whatever happens will happen.
Fantastic. All right. I might go to Jesse. You've got a question about Sowie getting to the Dragons.
Yes, so it's there's a lot of talk about mid-season transfers recently. So but you came to the club in 2007 on a mid-year transfer from the Roosters. How'd that come about?
Yeah, a lot of talk about mid-season stuff. I actually didn't finish a contract, funnily enough. I was at the Roosters 2007, got dropped back to part-time squad with Chris Anderson as the head coach, and was confused as to why I'd come off the back of a grand final in 04, 2 grand finals, 05, 06, and I trained well. I didn't feel like I wasn't not ready, but he'd seen it differently. And I said to my stepdad, I sort of want out, as most kids do these days. They want to get out of their contract, and he was he's old school. He sort of said, "No, we're not going to let you do that." He said, "I want you to play 3 months in reserve grade, be the best that you can be, train." And then he said, "If you can't crack it into first grade, I'll help you get out." And that for me sort of gave me a purpose to, okay, well, at least focus on the year. Once that 3 months rolled around, there's sort of been some whisper that the Dragons were interested. And once my stepdad heard that, he ran to the car to help me try and get out of the Roosters. He's a big Dragons fan. So, and then I just got a call from Sam saying that the Dragons were interested in going and have a coffee with Nathan Brown. Went and had a coffee with him down at Cronulla, and he explained that, would I be interested? I said, I would be interested, but like I'm not coming across to sort of play reserve grade, and he'd leave that up to me. I had to get myself into the team, but also keep myself there. And we shook hands, and then I played first grade for the Roosters a week later, and we won. And I'd sort of told the Roosters and Nick Politis, I've always given Nick thanks, because he was the one that actually said, no, we agreed to let him go. So we're not going to go back on that now because we've won a game. So, I was at a mate's dad's funeral in Wagga, watching the Broncos beat Newcastle 72-4 or 68-4 when the news came through that I was going to be the Dragons the week later, and we played the Broncos on Friday night at Cogra. So that was it.
You had a memorable debut that night, didn't you?
It was great. I was living up the road at just up near Carlton there, and walked to the ground. No one knew me. No one talked to me. It was great. And then took me a while to get home because we sort of we won 11-4. It was a massive turnaround, and we had guys there that were sort of on the fringe and getting a chance. That was a great debut for the club, and felt like I belonged straight away.
Fantastic. All right, Puff, you got a question for Jamie about his speed?
As Ray Warren used to say, Jamie. He used to say, Jamie Soward, the fastest man on earth, but especially in Cogger over 40 metres with a hat on. So what I remember about you, Jamie, because I've often seen the game, some player drop the ball, there'll be 5 guys hanging around, and you could literally just pick up the ball and just take off at almost, most players would seem to warm up and get faster. You just seem to take up at speed. Was that speed something that you always naturally had, or did you actually have speed training to take off at the mark, or was it just a gift that you just had it?
Yeah, I think we're either born fast or we're not. And I don't know who the bloke was that popped in at Canberra one day when Dad was out, but it wasn't Dad's speed. It must have been the milkman down there. So, Mum wasn't quick. Dad wasn't quick. I was just born with fast twitch fibers, as someone said, and it was funny because in 2009, Wayne's first year at the club, he just reminded me that I was probably a little bit different in terms of how I played the game, but I was a competitor, so putting myself in the right position and just turning up and being in the frame, as we call it, was part of my game. And in 2009, I mean, if you go back and watch some of the games, I'd be just chilling out there on the near the wing defending, and then the ball would just come to me and I'd find myself running away. So I don't know really if I was just that fast or I just got myself in the right position quicker, which made it seem like I was fast. But I'm not. I mean, now I couldn't run out of sight in a week, but I think I was always fast. Yeah, Mum said I was always fast, so I don't know.
So would you have been as quick as Brett Morris, or would Brett have been a little bit quicker? Because that would have been a race I would have loved to have seen.
Quick. Yeah, BMOS was quick. There was some sort of conjecture around 40-metre times one year at Cogra, which I can't remember the results, but I was pretty close to him.
Yep.
Not too far from Brett Morris. That's pretty sharp, mate. So even if he did get to you by 0.01. Jesse, you had a question about a bodyguard.
Yeah, so you recently hired Bo Scott to be a defensive coach for the girls as well, to help with defense. And I want to know how was it? What were you comfortable defending inside it, knowing that you had a bloke like Bo Scott defending alongside you all the time?
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about the Greg Inglis fend off round 109, and then Wayne swapped Bo to centre, and then we sort of moved our structures around throughout that next 2 years, where Bo was at centre and he'd defend 3 and I'd defend 2 in, and then Gaz came and we went sort of back to the traditional side. But Bo, Bo's one of my very good mates in terms of he sacrificed his career to be able to do his job for the team. He was the ultimate team guy, and he never made me feel bad for missing a tackle. He said to me early on, I don't care if you miss, just put your body in front, because where it's a team game. And there was plenty of times I'd miss 5 or 6 tackles, which seems like the norm now. A halfback misses 8 tackles, and that's just normal. No one sort of criticises it. It's just the way that it is. So, but Bo was such a great, person to have defend beside you, but also protect me from, all the shit that comes along with playing rugby league, and sometimes you get picked on and stuff like that. But one thing I admired about Bo is he never made me feel like I was a lesser player, or he just helped me play to my strengths defensively. And people can say what they like about my individual game, but as a team, our system, I think we're still maybe top 2 or 3 premiers, with the best points for and against per game. I think back to 2010, we didn't concede a point in any of the second halves in the finals, not 1 point. So again, that whole, oh, you're a shit defender doesn't really worry me because my job wasn't to defend. It was to be part of the system. And watching the semi-final the other day, someone sent me some highlights. I actually made a bad read on the edge, but we just had such confidence in each other that we knew we could fix it pretty quickly. And that's very rare to have with inside a team.
Fantastic.
Is that the reason you hired him to help out with the girls as well in defence?
No. So the reason why we hired Bowie is, firstly, he's a premiership winner. So, knowing that the girls get a kick out of, obviously, if they are new to the game, and keep them within the history of what such a proud club as St George Illawarra Dragons are. But he knows defence, and he's been coaching for a while now, individual sessions with girls. And I think that when I took the job over, I didn't really know what to expect in terms of communicating and stuff like that to girls. And I've got my own way. Obviously, I'm intense and stuff like that. Whereas Bo technically is very, very good. And once I reached out to him, he said he'd love to be a part of it. And if he didn't have more going on with his individual work, he would have been my assistant. So he's a great guy to have around the group. The girls love having him around. And we had our camp on the weekend, and I think the other staff love seeing me and him back together because we can sit and have a beer and tell stories. So that's the other part. You got to have someone you can have a beer with as well. That's before a game, which is good.
Yeah, I think there might be a few on the panel that wouldn't mind having a beer with you at some point too.
Can I just while we're on that defensive, I can just quickly just ask Jamie one question about that Bo Scott thing. And there were many games also, Jamie, that you did some great tackles in many games, and I used to sometimes think that your lack of defence sometimes was a little bit unfair. Did you looking back when you were playing, did you think it was a little bit unfair at times? Because I personally did.
Yeah, I think having worked in the media since retirement, it's easy to see who is in, with who in terms of who looks after, which is why when I retired and went into the media, I didn't keep in touch with anyone in terms of, because I needed to be straight down the middle and have my own opinion. Sure, you talk to guys and you respect guys, but I felt like I was an easy target. He's missed tackles. He doesn't run the ball. Like, it was easy. It's easy as a society to get caught up in what people do wrong. Yeah, as your wife said before, we're always looking for what's wrong in people. And even as a coach, sometimes I can be too negative. And looking at the trial on the weekend, I was probably a little bit upset. But then watching it back, I realised that there was actually a lot of good stuff in there. So, I think some guys that were vocal in that stuff back then, forgot how hard it was when they're playing as well, and forgot that I was 90 kilos. I'm not meant to tackle 115 kilo guys by myself. So I didn't really give a shit. I got the most overrated player one year, and
but you did that, Jamie. That's my point. Sometimes you did tackle those big guys on your own before Gaz or Bo came across. I saw you do it a lot, and that's my point. I sometimes thought that it was a little bit unfair that you would be marked as the guy that couldn't tackle, because I saw you do many good tackles by yourself. That's what I'm trying to say.
And obviously tried my best, but it didn't really. The people that I needed to please were Wayne and Bo, really. I didn't care about anyone else. So, regardless of what other people thought or wrote about me, it was more, was I doing my job for the team?
Jamie, do you find with the other players as well, I'm seeing more the way you're thinking and your attitude towards the game and towards what the fans are saying and the media are saying. Do you find the other players have that same approach to playing, like you just explained it, or a lot of them are struggling with what really is happening around them? They're more influenced by the negativity around them. How do they cope with this negativity? You can't keep putting your child down. You've got to uplift them all the time. I find the fans lack uplifting. They're too negative for you guys. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways you can look at it. I mean, Dragons fans are the most passionate fans that you can have in terms of rugby league. Obviously we're striving for success at the club, and we want our fans to be passionate, and we understand that. We need to get back to where we were, but it's really, really hard to sustain success, and there's varying things. There's injuries, there's form and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it goes in cycles. I mean, if I had said that, you're going to wait, what was it, 31 or 32 years for a premiership, but you would get one in 2010. Like, sometimes we forget it's. I know it's been 13 years, but there's half a dozen teams that have waited longer than 20 years to even win a grand final. So we want success. We all want to win, but every year, I think sometimes we probably focus a little bit too on the negatives. But the other part of it is, like, when you talk about players, is, I think there's been a transition. Whereas, when I played, you love the game, and I think now, I don't know if as many players love the game as what they, probably should. Some of them, that's just the way it is. That's culture, that's society, But if, in terms of the bullying and negativity and stuff like that, like, everyone makes their own decision to go on social media, whether they use it for sponsorship, to make money, friends, whatever. You can easily put yourself on private. There's stuff in place to get rid of that comment stuff and the negativity around it. So I think sometimes we're probably a little bit too precious, and you've got to say, well, if you don't like it, you can turn it off. If you don't want the light on when you go to sleep, you don't leave it on. You turn the light off. So we overthink that stuff, but there's a lot to unpack in that as well. But in terms of the success stuff, look, we'd love to win every single year. And you look at the Melbournes and Roosters and Penrith, and that's only 3 out of 18 clubs or 17 clubs. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to go right to be able to get into to winning a premiership.
Puff, you also had a question about Jamie's halves partner.
Oh, yes, thanks. Benny, Hornby, Jamie. I've always personally thought that Hornby was a great halfback. He was a great fullback, of course, before he went into the 7. And having played alongside Ben for as long as you did, would it be a fair comment to say that Ben Hornby's an underrated 7?
To everyone else, he is. To me, he's not. You think about the great transitions of the game, Lockyer to fullback to 6, Benny Hornby's is right there. It won't get the accolades that Darren did, and Darren's probably pushing immortal status, but his defence front line, his organisation skills, and we just had an uncanny knack for just knowing when the other person was on, or when they were cooking, and knew how to work together. And there's no probably bigger stage in the grand final. We'd attack down the left for 2 years, and we just every Monday we'd come in and go, can't believe no one's stopping us on the left. Like, BMOS has scored so many tries, but it wasn't probably working on the right for us in the GF after that first try with Gaz. And Benny switched it up at half time. He went down there, and it wasn't me getting pissy about it. It was more like, okay, yep, sweet, what can I do? And we end up scoring a couple of tries down there through Benny going over to that right-hand side. So his organisational skills, his leadership, his willingness to be able to do whatever it took to win. And then I think about the catch just before half-time on his line. That was not many halfbacks can catch a ball like that. So, I think I said after the GF, all the people that have never played before were talking about how we couldn't win with Benny at halfback. Well, now we have. So it was good.
And just one more quick question on Hornby. I've always wondered, for the amount of times that he played at the Dragons, I never read ever that any other club made an approach for Ben Hornby, which I find insane. So you've been closest to Benny. Did any other club ever try to get Ben Hornby from the Dragons?
I have no idea. I think, I spoke about this during the contracting model for the girls and recruiting the girls, and you're all talking to each other about who's recruiting who and stuff like that. Like, we just don't talk about it. It's your own business. I've got group of best mates that I've had for 25 years. I have no idea how much they earn or if it's the old school way. You just didn't talk about it. That was your own business, and it wasn't stuff that I think a good locker room doesn't bring that stuff in, and you do play it out. Whereas now, it's so gossipy, and we've got to generate stories and stuff like that. I think, I get the shits with it because, regardless of who it is, and obviously we've had a high profile one, there's still some privacy that player deserves that, I don't know if everyone respects it by the same rules as what they used to, which is why it generates such big momentum.
Well, lucky for us, we had Hornby next to you, mate. Because you and Benny were just incredible hard pairing, mate. Just unbelievable.
24-hour news cycle now, mate. It's just it's relentless. It never stops, and like you say, they've got to fill those inches with something. So they pluck stuff out of nowhere. All right, the next question I got from pretty much everyone on the panel wanted to ask it, but Big T, you're the man that gets to ask this one, mate.
Thank you very much. I watched it in '85 where we nearly got all 3 grades, and I watched it in '92 and '93 where we couldn't play, apparently, according to Alfie. '96 and '99 we were ripped off. But I think I'd like to thank you and for every St. George supporter in the world for the 2010 grand final, man. Thanks for getting that for us. But the question I want to do ask is, we had Wayne Bennett as our coach 09, 10 and 11. Tell us about Sir Wayne of the Red V, and how was your relationship with him, and what's your relationship with him now?
Yeah, I don't talk much to him now. I think we had our reunion December last year, and we caught up, and it was good to see him. And I'm sure he'd always be there. But Wayne, I felt like Wayne in those 3 years, was almost like a father figure to me. He took me under his wing. He never, made me feel bad for, stuff that I'd gotten wrong in games. I think his biggest advice, was don't carry your divots, which is what I used to write on my wrist, and also trusting your first instinct. So, Wayne's trust in me to be able to execute my job for the team gave me a lot of confidence, and that was up to me to work on that. And selfishly, you think back to the moments that I had in games, not looking at a holistic view, but I was able to ice that because of the confidence that Wayne gave me. We talked a lot about family, and he could see how much I loved and wanted the success. He just needed to teach me. And I think, the hard road in 09 sort of prepared us for 2010. There was a steely focus around everyone. And, Wayne's relationship with the boys and sitting up at the back of the bus and wanting to be a part of that mateship, I think drove our success, because it was a successful group. 05, 06, they probably should have won it.
Yeah.
Team individually, I think it was filled with like maybe 10 or 12 rep stars, but Wayne coming to the club, nearly had him at the Roosters in 06, but someone leaked it, so he didn't end up coming there. But I think he just gave me the confidence and understanding what I was good at, and just to work on that versus focus on the negatives, which you spoke about before. So, when he comes to the club and less is more in a way, like he kept it really simple for me, and I was able to flourish under that. And I had a great relationship with him. I remember some of the conversations we had around early doors about, building up my confidence and focusing on what I was good at. And then I also remember the conversation out of Origin where he was going to drop me. That was just Wayne. I could ring him today and he'd talk to me. But I think the Dragons fans will always remember Wayne for that magical 3-year sort of period.
Yeah, they'll remember him for that 2010 grand final, I think. If you had one piece of advice to give the current team that you learned from Wayne, what would it be?
Yeah, well, I work with the current team. Yeah, I've been doing the back five stuff for two years. So I think my advice is, the current team right now, we've tried really hard. I mean, if you look at our results this year, where you win half those games that we've lost, including on the weekend, and
Oh, exactly right.
You're in the 8. So
we're in the same boat as Canberra, and they've actually won their close games. We've lost our close games. That's the difference.
And there's a lot that goes into that. I think sometimes I think Wayne's biggest advice was stick to your plan. And don't find any excuses. And that's what I like about Ryan. And obviously we'll get that with Flano is, they've been successful. They've been in successful clubs, but stick to plan A, because when we don't, we go away and we start to make it up. We get ourselves into trouble. So, the current group right now I know is working really, really hard. And, we've got a few injuries out of the weekend as well. So it's going to be even harder. But they're a resilient bunch. So I'll keep working.
Oh, we can do it.
So,
we can do it. Go the Dragons. All right, thanks, man.
Well, I might actually stay with you, Big T, because while 2010, we talked a little bit about 2010, but there was another honour that you got at the start of that year that Big T wants to ask you about.
Yeah, the Greg Inglis speed bump incident. Tell us about that and what you remember from it.
So that was 2009. And then I think he got me at Cogra as well.
Yeah.
Where he sort of half choked me, and to this day that was not a try. I put my foot down underneath the ball and he actually knocked it on. But referee called penalty try for some reason. Which
I think Donnie's got a little clip there somewhere to have a look at.
But I think our system, if you go back and watch it, like now as a coach, if I analyse it as a player, sure, it's embarrassing. But what was I going to do after it happened?
That's exactly right. You just got you in the right spot at the right time.
A couple of minutes later, we teamed up and we threw him into touch.
Yeah.
Kicked the goal to put us in the goal. We lost 19-18 in Melbourne. Like, that doesn't define. I think that one tackle, people always put it up and send it to me. And, my team sent it to me. And I'd like, he'd done it before. It's not like I was the only one that done it. So I think I'm happy that I'm on his highlights. His highlights get played a lot more than mine. So, but I just remember Dell coming over, and Dell just sort of said, "Oh, don't worry, young fella, there's only 75 minutes to go." And I just thought, "Oh shit, I'm in for a long night here." But, again, like it was, he was 110 kilos. I was 9.
He would have been fun to play with, the Dell.
He was unique. He was.
The
dressing sheds. Yeah, Wayne would often say, be selfish in your preparation. You prep to your own time. And Dell would be dancing. I think there's a clip of Dell dancing, and I'm sort of snoring in the corner because I'm trying to focus on what I need to do. But the speed bump thing doesn't worry me, man. I mean,
no, it was just one of those Aussie things. We have to give you a jibe. We have to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dig you one.
I think, you know what? I think, like, looking back, people give me shit about that. And then if they do it in a pub, like, I've sort of got like a two or three beer limit, because then I can get really chirpy really quickly.
I think we've seen that on the field.
Yeah, that's. I wasn't much of a talker on the field. I was more actions, I'd like to think, but I have been known to get into a little bit of trouble with talking off the field, because it just becomes like I just get my back up really quickly about things. So
that's great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I was actually going to skip that question, Big T. I was more aiming for the start of 2010 when you actually got the chance to play in that first ever Indigenous All Stars team, and tell us about that experience and what it meant to you.
Yeah, it was. I played in the first one in 2008. The Indigenous side played the Māori All Stars before the World Cup. It was like an exhibition match, and we won that game, and I'm proud to be a part of that. But to be in the first one under the new concept, with such great players, I mean, Presto, JT. I don't think I played that first one, but Scott Prince. It was a great week for me. I roomed with Jonathan Thurston, so it was really, really cool to learn. And I learned off JT that you can switch off a bit more off field. I was probably a bit tense off field at times. But once he put the boots on, his eyes rolled back and he switched into ultimate competitor. So that whole week was great. I love the concept of it. I love the fact that we're getting to know each other's culture more. I love the fact that it was in New Zealand this year. So my dream is to be on the coaching staff potentially, and maybe even coach the girls one time. But it was a great experience.
Yeah, nice.
Well, I can't think of anything else good that happened in 2010, so I guess we'll move on. And unless Jesse remembers something else that happened.
So in that 2009 season, you won the minor premiership, but Choker's tag was still quite heavily on you and the team's backs. You went out in straight sets, losing to Para and Brisbane, but then the following, which only intensified criticism and that Dragons can't play semi-final footy. What did Wayne tell you after that season, and what did he do differently that finally made you step up and win semi-finals in 2010, which ultimately led to the premiership?
Yeah, I think Wayne's big message after 2009 is we're not going to do anything different. We just need to do it better at the right time of the year. I'm that True Believers doco. Yeah, we spoke intensely about the Chokers tag wasn't going to go anywhere. And I think there's a couple of teams in the NRL that have it now. That they need to get past a certain stage. So it wasn't going to go anywhere unless we won. So I just remember going to 2009, for about a month. I thought, like, holy shit, is this really happening? Am I ready for the big moment? Yeah, and then we win 37-0, and then the next week we choke it up a bit, and then we go to Brisbane. And once we lost the Para game, I think we were just defeated mentally. We had to turn around, and I don't know how you finish first and you have to go to Brisbane the second week. That just never sat right with me. But I just remember going to the ground in 2010, and it was different. There was a different feel. I know the fans were nervous, but inside the sheds, I felt more relaxed. I felt like we had to have that dress rehearsal in 2009. And, of course, we were tense. I mean, we started that first half against Manly very tense. We took a couple of penalty goals. It wasn't, pretty to watch, but it was our style. Whereas 2009, we probably drifted away from that a little bit. And we tried to chase points, and we thought it was going to come easy. And I just remember, just feeling really focused and relaxed ahead of that first semi-final against Manly. Then the week off, and then coming into the Tigers, Wayne sort of said, don't watch the game, but everyone was watching the game. And Jared Croker, unfortunately for him, misses penalty goal, and then we knew we were playing the Tigers. So I think that was when it got real. Yeah, that looking back, that was probably the grand final was us beating the Tigers in the semi.
Yeah.
What about that field goal you kicked in the preliminary final? Talk us through that one.
Yeah, it was. I don't think I've hit too many better. I had a routine before a game that I'd hit sort of maybe half dozen, but I always tried to get 3 field goals. It just became part of my routine before a game. And I remember running out at ANZ, and it was just like a massive beehive. It was that loud, and we're sort of not stressing about the noise, but we just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. And then I went to have my field goal shots, and I just nailed the first one. And I didn't even think about it. Didn't have any other shots. When Lottie gets hurt, Benji has a couple of minutes to decide what he's going to do, and they go 2 past shift. He kicks out the full. And I just knew through Wayne's first talk in 09 was, I always want to take the 2, and you take a field goal whenever you think. And that was it. Like, it wasn't like set up for it. It's just, how do you want it? It's the right post. That was it. And he trusted me to come up with the right time. And when Benji kicked out in the full, that was my time. When Fancy delivers a great pass, but like, talk about straight off the tee, like it just didn't, like, it wasn't going to miss. It was probably the best kick I've had. But there was still 5 minutes to go, and someone asked me, like, why didn't you celebrate? And I was like, well, that was what I was expected to do. Like, it was such a strong group that, you'd have to ask the other boys, but I don't think anyone thought I was going to miss. I'd missed a couple, but throughout my career, but I don't think anyone thought I was going to miss. So, it was great prep. My stepdad even said to me, "I knew that you were going to kick one because you usually have three." Like he watches me closer than I do, but it was a great strike. Looking back, and happy I kicked it.
Yeah, I was actually behind the posts that night you kicked it. I was sitting in that bay behind. It was flooded with Dragon supporters, and we were just going crazy at that point of the game.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty happy you kicked it and went on to obviously win the following week over the Roosters. But I suppose now moving a bit post Wayne. I heard you talk. It might have been on your podcast after Anthony Griffin became coach and how he dropped you at Penrith. You weren't real happy about it, but you'd managed to repair that relationship. We got a couple of questions from other fans in our group. Wondered if there'd been any similar opportunities to mend the relationship with Steve Price.
So obviously, when I was a player at Penrith, I was dealing with some stuff off field. I was going through a divorce. I was going through some depression issues and probably drinking too much and looking, off field too much rather than on field. So when Anthony saw me, I was at the back end of my career. Gus had told me to retire. So I sort of had a lot going on. Once I got all that finalised, I felt like I wasn't playing great, but I wasn't playing bad. So when Hook decided to move me on, I probably was a little bit bitter and my ego was very big. And, I reached out to him because we worked together at 2GB and, I'd sort of written some stuff in paper and not great about him. But I just reached out and said, look, I was a different person then. I feel like I've taken a step away, taken a breath and matured. And, I was vocal about that because, Hook, if I knew now, the person that, Hook wanted me to be that he could see, then I would have been probably played until the end of my contract at Penrith. But, my ego was a massive thing there. I was trying to protect it. I didn't want to change things. I'd been successful doing things a certain way and didn't want to evolve. I think the thing with Pricey, me and Hook are, still good mates today and talked to him, obviously not happy with the way things finished for him, but we still chat. But I think the thing with Pricey was very similar in the fact that I'd come off a very successful period with Wayne and the way that certain styles that he got me to play and stuff like that, and probably felt like I deserved a little bit more respect within within where I sat within the team, which was an ego thing. And looking back, probably got in the way of a few things. But he swapped me to the left side, which didn't, like I'd won on the right. So there was a lot of things that I didn't see the big picture to. So once I retired, I reached out to Pricey and sort of just said, listen, mate, obviously it wasn't the best version of myself in terms of, some stuff that I had going on, but also just didn't see the big picture. And again, let my ego get in the way a little bit. So probably why I'd sort of divided opinion on people is, I can be emotional and leave my stuff out there and sometimes I get it wrong. So, but me and Price haven't caught up for a bit here, but I felt like we're trying to reinvent the wheel when we didn't need to was my big thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know too many people that hold you at fault for that whole situation. But I was going to give this question to Mick, but I don't think he was real comfortable actually asking it. So
I'm happy. No, I'm getting
right.
ready for it.
All right. You've been psyching yourself up for a while.
I didn't want it, but now I will.
I'll throw to you then, mate.
Right, I'm assuming it's the one I didn't want to ask. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Jamie, this is on behalf of Muzzer, one of our panel members, and I can take on board the question myself because we all, as Dragon fans, feel pretty pissed off about it. That you never got that farewell game at the Dragons, which we all really thought that you richly deserved it, but you never got it. Surely back at the time, that would have immensely hurt you greatly. And now over the many passing years, how does that sit with you now that you never got that in front of the Dragons fans?
It's probably a touchy point. When I left the Dragons, I think there was some confusion around my reasons for leaving. Yeah, the club had offered me 1 year and then pretty much told me, what was going on behind the scenes as well. They were trying to break up and reinvent that, or rejuvenate that premiership roster a little bit. Penrith had offered me 4. So, it wasn't that I didn't want to be at the Dragons. And I just felt like there was a sense of once I left, everyone had forgotten the last that little period or my time at the Dragons. And I was in England just watching everyone get farewells and rightly so. Michael Wayman, that Nathan Feen, like Ben Hornby, Dean Young, all those guys deserve that. And I'm not saying it's just about me, but I was pissed off at the fact that no one even reached out to me to say, hey, let's bury the hatchet here. Let's, at the end of the day, your name, whether we like you or not right now, your name's going to be in the museum forever. And not just like, down as a footnote. Like, people are talking about 2010 forever. So I was pissed off at the fact that I didn't get that opportunity for me to say thanks to the fans. We had some good times, we had some rough times, but at the end of the day, we all united in 2010. So,
well, know this, mate. You're massively loved by Dragons fans, mate. That's undisputed, mate. And I can say that speak on behalf of many Dragon fans that I know. You're an absolute legend.
13 years later, we're still pissed off about it too, mate.
Yeah, we're still
like
pissed off, mate.
I sort of reached out to the club and, in a way, I just felt like they just wiped their hands of me a little bit, which is why, when I started talking to Ben Harron about coming back, I was really excited at the fact that I had someone that sort of knew my story a little bit that wanted me back at the club because they knew how much I love the club. And then, I've been there. This is my 4th year there, I think, being involved in some sort of capacity. But, it hurt because you, in a way, like selfishly, you want to be thanked, but also you want to thank people as well. You guys are the ones that pay to come and watch, and there's no better sight than Cogra on a Friday night when we were rolling. Like, if you ever went there when we were winning games the way that we were, it was pumping. Or Sunday afternoon, when we had to buy the next week, we could have a beer. Like, there was nothing better. We played Friday for 2 years. We played Friday night or Sunday afternoon. So, it's a regret. But, what am I going to do about it now? I'm back there coaching and I love my job. So, hopefully I get a chance to carry around a NRLW title and maybe I can log in a few thanks on the way around then.
Well, at least we're thanking you now, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, all right. Well, I know Jesse is absolutely chomping at the bit to talk NRLW, and that's your sort of main role for the rest of this season. So why don't you kick us off, Jess?
Yep. So your first last Friday you had that trial up against Parramatta. Only just lost in the dying minutes. What did you take out of that hit out for the girls, Sowie?
Yeah, I was really pleased. I think some of our stuff that we wanted to get right, I thought our attack was really good. We conceded 4 soft tries in terms of an intercept, and kick return, and then 2 system errors on an edge. But we were rotating everyone around. Girls got a hit out. I was pretty pleased with it. It was everything that I expected it to be. 320s was a little bit unique. We probably would have liked it longer. There was a lot of stoppages, but all in all, I was very happy that everyone got through injury free, which was, it's unusual for me to prep. I'm so serious in my prep that I didn't know how to prep for a trial because I was like, we want to get certain things out of it, but I'm also looking at trying to pick a team for Newcastle. So I was very happy in the end, but I just felt like we still had a little bit of learning out of that, which we addressed at the camp, and we trained good last night, which was good.
Yep. And just on that, have you got a team in mind that you're going to pick for next week, or are you still waiting for something to people to train the house down or prove a point to spots still up for grabs for that first 17 next week?
Yeah, definitely. There's still spots up for grabs. I think you've got to get your bench right, which is something that I learnt in seasons 1 and 2. I probably had them right, but not the subs. So there's definitely spots there for grabs. And like I said, the girls trained good last night. We've got 2 big sessions this week. And then our focus shifts to Newcastle next Monday.
Tegan Berry's been on the wing for the last couple of seasons. What are you most looking forward to about her transitioning to the fullback role now that Emma Tonegato's gone?
Yeah, I think Flash is such an amazing athlete that she could play centre, she could play wing, she could play fullback, and we saw glimpses the other night of the way that she moves with such ease that I'm just really looking forward to her growing into that role. And there's going to be some growing pains in terms of defensively. There's a lot to learn, and you only get 5 weeks to teach them, but she's been amazing. And I'm looking forward to her development playing fullback.
And Racine looked great as a leader there, showing the way for the young girls.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Ray is she's such a competitor that being our captain, I think it's easy to come in and think that you're the best player in the world, and she has every right to sort of have that swagger about her. But she's one of the most down to earth people, and when we signed Ray, it was a partnership. It wasn't coach signing player. I needed to get the best out of her. She needed to get the best out of me, and so the girls are sort of saying that she's a female version of me, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I hope for our sake it is, because I've loved the way that she's gone about her pre-season and the way that she leads the team around. And she'll admit she was probably a bit rusty on Friday herself. Our kicking game wasn't great, which we need to fix, but she's such a great leader and a really good person. The focus on Newcastle, I think we've got to focus on getting a lot of our girls re-signed for the next couple of years, because it's a good group.
And can you run us through the squad and tell us what to look out for in these sorts of players that are quite unknown to many of the fans?
Yeah, I think the question that you probably want to ask is how we lost the Australian players and so much changeover. And for me, I get pissed off because everyone was a free agent, and those girls decided to leave for certain reasons. And some of it's I have no doubts financial, some of it's opportunity, some of it's playing with their friends, some of it's because they don't like me, or the program, which is fine. We've got to be okay with that. We've got to be okay with people leaving the club. There's going to be a lot of changeover in the next couple of years, and I think the one thing we can expect with our group is we're extremely young, but we've got some really good competitors there, and we're able to put together a roster of people that want to be at the Dragons. So, for Dragons fans, yes, we'll be judged on our results, and I don't hide from that fact. And as a coach that's in not on contract, for me, I'm looking. Obviously, I've got to win games to get extended, and I want to be around for a long time. But to start with, we need competitors that want to be at the Dragons. So it's a young squad. There's girls there that have been meticulously recruited because of some stuff that they can bring to the group. Now, that's going to take time. I'm not naive to that. But, the one thing that I do know is we've got 24 girls there, plus our academy girls, plus our development girls that are all wanting to be at the Dragons, who potentially turn down more money, turn down playing with their friends because they want to be at the Dragons. And as a Dragons fan, that's all you can ask for at the moment. So we'll be all right.
Fantastic. I believe Mrs. Puff's got an off-agenda question. I'm not sure exactly what she's got to ask, but Catherine?
Yeah, Jamie, my question is, for example, when Ben Hunt joined St. George, he got $1 million. And then you could see with other team members, like remember Dugan was, I don't know, he was requesting for more money because you know how they compare each other. Now, how is it that within in the NRL that the privacy of your income, do you think it is right that everybody should know about it, or should it be kept private so that the players between themselves, there's no jealousy? How is it that the release of your privacy, that everybody should know your income, how does that work within the players? How does that influence the players? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the players talk about it. I think it's the player managers. I think it's, media hype. Yeah, they speculate. I mean, the difference with I would probably say NRLW, they're a lot closer because they're all friends, so they probably talk about it. But within the men's game, you've got to think that everyone has different managers. So let's, for instance, just say that Michael is your manager and Tony's my manager. And Tony shops me out to another couple of clubs and we're sort of similar position. And then Michael realises that he might be able to get more money at the Dragons by saying that I've been shopped around. So he starts to whisper with his media friends. Tony starts to whisper with his media friends because they've all got friends in the media. So when they want to leak something or when they want something out or their client's off contract, it's easy to ring up and say, hey, Mad Dragon, I need you to come out and say that Soward's off contract.
Yeah, but you personally, you don't mind everybody knowing what you earn, or do you think it should be kept private, you as an individual?
Oh, I'm a coach, so I don't want...
When you were playing?
I think it should be kept private. I don't think you should have to...
too.
I don't think you should have to detail what you earn. Again, like I've used the story before, I've got a mate, I've never asked him. I don't care because if I'm caring what I'm not. But the market dictates the conversation. Yeah, there's...
And again, just because the media is saying a number, that doesn't mean it's necessarily true either.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, there was you usually take probably 15% or 20% off what that actually is.
Well, even boys back in the glory days when we won those 11 premierships in a row, and I don't know if this is true, but I read this in one of the Dragons. It was actually in the official Dragons book that the players didn't ask each other. So Billy Smith
players still don't
ask
each other.
Tanger wouldn't know what Papa Clay was on. They just didn't speak about it. They didn't ask about it. They just played football.
That's what.
And look what happened.
Well,
so I agree. I don't really think I should know if someone's on a million and he's on 400,000.
To be fair to the players don't talk about it. Like if you go into a dressing room, it's not like they're sitting down showing each other their bank accounts. It's you hire someone. I don't have a manager, so I do my negotiating myself for my extensions and whatever else. So
yeah, because the fans talk about it. You hear the
fans talk about what colour undies I was wearing when I kicked the field goal in blah blah blah. Like the fans love the game.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to talk about, the fans will talk about, and that's what we love about our game. But again, probably back to my point, like don't get caught up in what you hear or see. Like unless for me, I'm an open book. I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm not on contract next year. I'm trying to negotiate right now to be able to get my future done so I can stay at the club. But in terms of what I earn, I'm never, ever going to disclose that to anyone because it's no one else's business. But that's the old school. The new school is we've got to see how many followers we each other have. We've got to, on Twitter and stuff like that. So it's, I wouldn't pay too much attention to it.
Oh, that's good.
All right. Big T, you've got a new favourite player you want to ask Jamie about.
I do have a new favourite player, Margot Vella. Waratahs, come from Union. Campbelltown girl. I grew up in Campbelltown. She's Maltese. My nan was Maltese, so we might be related somehow. Is she quicker than Tegan Berry? And what does she bring to the club?
Yeah, so Maggot, as she's affectionately known as, which I still get used to. I mean, I had Rat last year, which I sort of ran with, but Maggot, So Margot was pitched to us from the Waratahs through Craig Clifton and his Roger Sports Management, and we looked at her in terms of, what could she bring to our team? And one thing, she's an amazing athlete. She's a great person. So we went and met with her, and I sort of said to her, what do you want to do? Because when you sign a girl from rugby union, if they don't have a league background, you've got to give them time. So, Margot's learning fullback, but also getting lots of reps on the wing. She's a great, athlete to be around. I think she's still learning some of the education around where to be positionally at fullback. But in terms of being a wing, yeah, she's going to push for that round 1 spot.
Cool.
But again, she's small in stature, so again, she's going to have to work out ways to use her body. But yeah, I've been really excited about the prospects of Margot going forward, and I needed options there at fullback, and I felt like her I guess speed was something that attracted me to Margot.
Yeah, when I found out we signed her, I had to look back through some highlights of hers from the Waratahs, and she's very, very quick. Got a nice step. I think she's going to look good in the red V.
Yeah, she went well the other night. I think she's still learning, like I said, ways to use her body in terms of the contact. Because Union, she's probably having maybe 3 or 4 carries at fullback. We need to have maybe 15, 20 carries. So
yeah. You've gone for youth this time around. A lot of the older girls are gone. You've got a lot of young girls in. So hopefully we can build for a good future.
Yeah, well, our program right now, I think. Well, I know that our development program's the best in the country. We had a record 5 girls get in the Australian schoolgirls team last week. Casey Ray was player of the tournament, player of the final. She's in our NRLW team next year. So I think, and there's Indy Bostock, who's part of our NRLW team in 25. She's actually too young next year.
Yeah.
Charlotte Basham's been a part of our NRLW training. Evie McGrath, and then also Charlotte Talon Haneker, sorry. She's been a part of it as well. So our academy has elite girls in the Australian team. Our development has elite girls in the Australian team. And Bronte Wilson, who's another rugby union girl, she's 16. She doesn't go to school, otherwise she'd be in the team. She's a part-time carpenter. So the future's, I would say that's
the future looks bright. Yeah, the future looks bright. So
very, very
we can do it in the next couple of years. That's fantastic. Thanks, Jamie.
All right. I suppose one last question about the NRLW, and that's what's the aim for the side this season? What do you think the team needs to achieve, I suppose, to make sure that you're the coach again next year?
Asking the wrong person, probably.
Well, what's your aim for the side this year?
Yeah, to make finals, I think, is a minimum. We know that there's going to be some learning stuff and more teams, and you realise some of those representative girls have teamed up at other clubs. But for us, when you get a player like Ray and also Tyler in the halves, those representative girls, is to be really, really competitive. And we know our systems are going to work. We just need to make sure that we stick at them. So, we want to achieve finals, but we also understand that more teams, longer rounds, we don't know how that's going to work. We've got a couple of 5-day turnarounds there where we come back from North Queensland. We'll have one training run and we play the Roosters on a Thursday night. So, I think it's going to be a learning experience for everyone in NRLW this year, but the side's built for success for the next couple of years, not just to try and win one and then drop off with changes. So we're putting some stuff in place now. I know a lot of the girls, we've been talking about extensions and stuff like that because we're one of the few clubs that only signed a few girls on 1-year deals for their preference. But we're confident after what we've seen that we're going to be able to extend. And in terms of my future, I'm talking to the club right now. I'm sure they'll make a decision, hopefully before the season starts on where the program's going to go. And I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us. You've been incredibly generous with your time. I know you're a busy man, got a lot going on. So, really appreciate you being with us. And you've been really open with all your answers too. So thanks very much.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me and look forward to seeing you at a couple of NRLW games throughout the year.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, guys.
Man.
See you later.
See ya.
Well, that'll wrap us up here. So as we always say, come on, Dragons fans.
Fire up!
Fire up!
That was good, Benny. That was good, mate.